Nalini, take us through the details of what exactly had the petition also really said, and this clearly has got no bearing on the impeachment proceedings against Justice Yashwant Verma, isn't it?
Absolutely, Sneha. Both the proceedings are completely parallel and independent of each other. And in fact, even the inquiry committee report that was submitted by the in-house inquiry panel, which was constituted by the former Chief Justice of India, Justice Verma, even that report is going to have little value before the proceedings in the Parliament. But coming to what Justice Verma has said in his petition, he essentially challenged the entire inquiry committee report and the findings of it on the basis of the fact that the procedure was not properly followed. He said that he did not get a right to cross-examine the witnesses who appeared before the inquiry committee. He'd also gone ahead and said that the inquiry committee had reversed the burden of proof, which means that they had put the proof on Justice Verma to prove that the cash did not belong to him. And he said that this was unheard of in law and it was not his job to prove that the cash did not belong to him. But at the same time, the Supreme Court has said, the Supreme Court looked into each of these aspects and it has devised 6 questions of law that it has answered in its judgment. At the very outset, it said that our first question is that whether we should even entertain this petition, considering the fact that we had made an observation that the conduct of the judge did not inspire confidence. And this is something that the Supreme Court has said multiple times during the course of the hearing, that the conduct of Justice Verma, the way he had challenged the inquiry committee report at the last second, along with the fact that he had never even gone to check that particular location where the fire had occurred after his return from Bhopal back to his residence, all of this conduct did not really inspire confidence, which is why the Supreme Court said that despite this observation, we have still formulated 5 more questions of law that they have answered during the course of this judgment, which also includes as to whether or not the CGI was authorized or empowered to write to the PMO and the President and recommend impeachment proceedings be initiated against Justice Verma, because that was one of the grounds that he had challenged. And he said that nowhere does it mention that the CGI has this power to recommend impeachment proceedings. So all of those questions have been answered by the Supreme Court today. Of course, the petition has been dismissed and we're still waiting for the detailed copy of the judgment. But just to take you through a quick few highlights, the Supreme Court has said that the in-house inquiry procedure was legal, it had legal sanction, and it is not a parallel unconstitutional procedure. It also goes on to say that both the CGI and the in-house committee followed the procedure that was laid on. The procedure was followed in all aspects except for one, which was when the video of the cash that was found in the outhouse was released as the part of the press report that was put out on the Supreme Court website. This, remember, Sneha, is something that the Supreme Court had said even earlier, that possibly they should not have released the video at the outset. Another thing that the Supreme Court has said, that even on uploading of the footage, the Supreme Court said nothing turns on it since Justice Verma did not come at the opportune moment. Again, something that the Supreme Court has said in the past earlier, that he should have approached the court in a judicial petition earlier if he'd wanted to challenge the in-house procedure. The Supreme Court also said that he has not sought relief regarding that in his plea. The Supreme Court also said that CGI giving opportunity to Justice Verma for hearing was not requirement of the procedure, which means that the CGI was not bound to give a hearing to Justice Verma. Yet, Justice Verma was asked by the CGI to place forth his stand and his opinion on the entire matter before the inquiry committee was set up. And CGI has also said that it cannot be claimed as a matter of right. The Supreme Court also said, I beg your pardon, that it cannot be claimed as a matter of right that the CGI asks for your stand. And on whether the writ was maintainable, the Supreme Court said once again that his conduct did not inspire confidence. So despite that, this judgment has been given. Important clarification that has come in at the outset, Sneha, is that nothing that has been said by the Supreme Court should impact any other proceedings, including the proceedings that are yet to happen before the Lok Sabha or the Parliament of India.
All right. Nalini Sharma getting in those details and telling us about Justice Verma's plea that has today been dismissed by the Supreme Court. Remember, this has got to do with the Cashall case that was in fact being heard. This had got to do with the petition of Justice Verma. Today, this has been dismissed by the Supreme Court. The court saying the CGI is giving an opportunity to Justice Verma for hearing, which was not requirement of the procedure. It cannot be claimed as a matter of right, underscoring that they've done this They've rejected Justice Verma's plea, but they heard his petition. What about the writ was maintainable? This is something that has been said by the Supreme Court as well. His conduct did not inspire confidence. This is something that the court has said today. Elaborate on this, Nalini. The very fact that the court talking about the conduct not inspiring confidence.
So, yeah, this is something that has been stated multiple times by the Supreme Court during the course of the hearing. Essentially talking about not only at what time he chose to file this petition before the Supreme Court, challenging the inquiry committee report and the process related to it, but also how he had conducted himself at the time when this entire controversy had happened. For example, after he had come back from Bhopal, because he was not in town when the fire had occurred, after he had come back, he did not visit the location where the fire had occurred, the outhouse, even once to assess the kind of damage that had happened. Even the inquiry committee in its report has said that they found this very odd because irrespective of how valuable or not valuable the things in a house are, if there's a fire, it's common for a person to go and check how much damage has been caused. Another thing that the inquiry committee report had raised regarding his conduct was the fact that when his transfer was communicated to him, he immediately had accepted the transfer to Allahabad without asking for the reasons behind it, and much before the deadline for his acceptance was set to expire. So just within a few hours of it being communicated to him, without any questions, he accepted the transfer, which was again something very odd that the inquiry committee found. They said that any sitting judge, if he is suddenly informed of his transfer, he is likely to at least ask why he is being transferred. Another important thing regarding his conduct that the inquiry committee report had highlighted was that despite the fact that he claimed that there was possibly a conspiracy against him,
That's right.
on the basis of which this
Nalini, I'll come back to you in a moment from now. In fact, Nalin Kohli is also now joining us. Thank you for your time. Your take on what has been said as far as Justice Verma's plea before the Supreme Court is concerned. It has now been dismissed by the Supreme Court. Your reaction to that?
That is the correct position, and it was expected. In fact, a lot of people were wondering that why was there a need to move a petition in this manner? Because first, the then Chief Justice of India, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, he had followed to the T what was the prescribed mechanism as provided in the Veeraswamy judgment. So therefore, when there is a judgment of the Supreme Court by a large bench, when there is a procedure prescribed, if the Honorable Chief Justice of India follows that, thereafter an inquiry committee is constituted, which includes 2 Chief Justices of the High Court, a senior judge of the Karnataka High Court. They go into it. Justice Verma decides not to present himself. They look at the entire evidence. They then look at the video footage, everything, give it there. The recommendation goes as per procedure. From that perspective, the bench of the Honorable Supreme Court, Justice Datta and others, Justice Datta specifically, asked these queries on the first day as reported in the media. And then today what has come is on expected lines.
Okay.